How's it, guys? So, as promised, I'm at a very special farm today. This is a stud farm or a stud breeder, but he's a stud breeder with a difference. And I think I have found the proverbial needle in the haystack. But before I get to that, let me first do today's shout outs. Now, guys, just on that, there's a lot more comments nowadays coming through, a lot of new guys coming to the channel, new to the channel, and leaving me a comment. And guys, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. And I really enjoy the interaction with you guys. So today's shout out goes to Putira Mutla, Lameki Jumba, Mazwi Kanyile, Fortune Chabeleng, who I think I'm doing now for the second time, Johnny Zuegbu, Luning Hay 44, Kamarativ, David Sizwe, Komasan Damasi, and Karebu Munchare. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you for your comments and welcome to the channel. And then just a special shout out to a young man called Cameron Bradfield. And the reason I've singled him out, he's a young man who's extremely passionate about cattle farming. And guys, the future of farming lies in the hands of the younger generation. When I was a young man and I heard things like that, I didn't really take it or give it much thought. But now that I'm on the wrong side of 40 and I look around and I see what age most established farmers are at, I realize that the future really lies in the hands of you guys, the younger generation. So, guys, you have the will, you have the energy, and more importantly, I think you have the tools available to you to make the necessary changes so that things can only get better for farmers in the future. Anyway, enough of that. So today we had a Bonsmara stud farm. The name of the farm is Hansel Bonsmara Stud, and the owner is Gerrit van Zyl. Now I want to thank Ati who referred me to this guy or to this farmer. Ati, thank you so much. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here today. But what makes him special? Why is this farm special? Well, it's the only Bonsmara stud farm in South Africa that A, applies holistic farm management principles, B, doesn't dip, dose, or drench for any ticks or parasites, and C, who puts his heifers to the bull at 15 months of age. But before I continue, let me first give you a bit of background. So about 10 years ago, Gerrit went to a holistic farm management course presented or hosted by the late Ian Riddle. The same Ian Riddle whose course I attended in 2018. Obviously, Gerrit was very impressed by what he saw and heard, and when he came back, he took the decision to start applying holistic management principles to his farm and to his herds. Of course, he was faced with a huge challenge because at that time it was still a relatively new thing. That's the first thing. And there wasn't a lot of information out there. But more importantly, he'd already been a stud farmer for 20 years. And such was his love for his cattle and the breed that he didn't see chance or he wouldn't consider changing over to a different breed of cattle. But at the same time, there were no other Bonsmara farmers that could supply him with cattle adapted to this type of farming. So you can imagine how big the challenges were starting out. It meant that he had to take his own animals, he had to start putting pressure on them and start selecting for those that could actually stand up to the challenge. Now, starting off, his progress was slow, but as he made progress every year, he could start putting more and more pressure on the animals. For those who don't know what holistic farm management is about, it's a principle where you take into consideration each and every living being on your farm. And I know that's an oversimplification, but it boils down to this. You align your farming practices so that you improve your soil health, you improve the microbial health in the soil, you improve the health of your pastures, you improve the health of your cattle, you improve the insects the birds, every form of life on your farm is considered, and your practices are aimed at not reducing, removing, or in any way harming any of those. And one of the biggest principles of that is high density grazing. So Gerrit started applying high density grazing, as I said. He had animals that better, had animals that did worse. He got rid of the bad ones, he continued with the good ones, and he soon realized that he didn't have enough cattle on the farm. Because one of the spin offs of high density grazing is that A, you make better utilization of the grass that you have, and B, you actually create more grass. So it wasn't long before he brought in more animals, and he currently stands today at double the numbers of animals he had, or he has double the number of animals now than what he had when he started out. Sorry for that. So he's carrying double the number of animals. But not only that, at any point in time, 1/3 of his farm has rested for at least 12 months. So it takes him 12 months to use 2/3 of his farm with double the amount of animals, and he has 1/3 that is rested. Now, why is that important? Keep in mind, and if you look at the felt and you look at the cattle, in fact, on the screen, guys, these animals are beautiful. They're shiny, they're glossy. There are a couple that are a little hairy and dull. These are animals that still haven't quite reached the point that he's happy with, and they'll be removed. In fact, he said many of them he's just producing calves off for the market. But he's doubled his animals. He's using 2/3 a year and he's saving a third. And this is critical because we're at a time where we're in a drought. Most of our country is in a drought. And last year, most of the country was in a drought. Despite all of that, he is not in any way at this point in time pressed to sell off any animals. Now, go and look on social media, go and look on Facebook. You can have a look on YouTube. There are other platforms as well. There are many people forced to sell off animals who farm conventionally because they don't have grazing. Now, granted, there are areas who really got very, very little rain. But many of the farmers who are farmers selling off their breeding stock now are doing so because they did get some rain, but they still don't have enough grazing. And that's the advantage of the system. Because he's got a third in the bank, so to speak, he's got 6 months. It buys him 6 months to see if the rains improve, to make alternative plans, to rent another farm, to buy in feed, or then to maybe sell off some of his animals. And even if he then sells off some animals, he's still going to be carrying more than what he would have carried under conventional grazing practices. Coming back to his three big decisions, and I know I'm jumping around a bit, please forgive me for that. So he started pressing his animals to high density grazing. He stopped giving them or treating them for ticks because the ticks or the antiparasiticals kill off your dung beetles and many of your insects, which are crucial to the health of your soil. And he's mating at 15 months. So he's selecting for early maturity. Now, granted, not many of his heifers are conceiving at 15 months of age, but he's already in that process, and that is important. Of course, you need to understand that when you farm like this, when you push your animals as hard as he does, you will need to supplement them in some form or another. So these animals are supplemented with protein right through the year. Guys, just look at that cow. Isn't she beautiful? Sorry. Just look at her. Shiny. For animals that are being pressed hard, these are looking very good. I mean, it's not as if the grass is green and lush. So he supplements them with protein. And depending on the camp that he's in and the time of the year and the season, they will be given between 100 and 150 square meters per animal per day. So the camp they're currently in is a 4.5 hectare camp. It's been subdivided into 7 portions, and each day they will graze one portion. So it will take him about 7 days to graze 4.5 hectares for 42 cows. In this herd, there are 42 cows. with calves, with a bull. So it'll take him 7 days to graze this camp, and this camp will then rest for at least 12 months. And this is the huge secret to high density grazing and holistic management. Because typically this farm would have about 60% red grass. Guys, forgive my finger there in the corner of the screen. Sorry, man. But typically this farm would have about 60% red grass or rooigras or Termedia triandra, for those who don't know, and 40% turpentine grass. Red grass is a very good palatable grass. Turpentine grass, not so much. The cattle won't eat it unless you force them to. Because it grazes them so hard, they graze both. They pretty much clean up the camp, and it gets to rest for 12 plus months. And then it also gets to produce a lot more herbage, a lot more grass. So that is why his system works. So then I said, okay, this all sounds good and well, but it sounds expensive. I'm pretty sure it costs you in production, and I'm pretty sure it costs you in the lick. He said, Shane, yes, when we started out, as I said, we made a lot of mistakes. We had to learn as we went along. We lost a lot in production. But we're at the point now where we can say with confidence that we can provide top quality, high density grazing adapted animals into the market. They've been doing it for a couple of years. But the quality, he is confident, will work on any farm out there. I also said to him, I said, okay, give me some indications as to how this affected your production figures. And first and foremost, he said that he dropped a little bit in weaner mass when he started doing high density grazing. He went from about 250 kilos, he dropped down to 220, 228 kilos, depending on the season. He says in the past, they would wean 38 kilos per hectare under conventional methods. But with this method, he's weaning 69 kilograms per hectare. And in fact, I'm not sure whether he's doing that calculation on the whole of his farm, but he should actually do that on only 2/3 of his farm, because remember, he's actually resting a third for 12 months. Be that as it may. So his average weaner mass has come down slightly, but his kilograms per hectare has nearly doubled. He's running at an 85% calving rate, which I think is brilliant. His intercalving period is around 410 days, which I think is very good for these conditions. And then I asked him the question, I said, Gerard, okay, if you couldn't sell one single stud animal for the next 3 years, and you could only sell your animals as a commercial farmer would you still survive? In other words, kilograms over the scale. And he said, without a doubt, confidently, he said, yes, he would. And I thought that was pretty impressive. I also said to him, I said, Gerard, if this doesn't work out, for whatever reason, if this didn't work out, what would you do? He said, Shane, if this didn't work out, and there's no reason that it shouldn't, he said, but if for some other reason this didn't work out, I'd sell off all my animals because I refuse to go back to where I came from. A couple of other interesting things. Guys, these guys look at things differently. He said to me, despite the fact that he has to feed a protein lick right through the year, remember the camps rest for 12 months plus. So when the cows come in, the grasses are fairly grown out and fairly lignified. So they've got to assist these animals when they're grazing this types of grass. They've got to assist them with protein. So despite all of that, I've brought down my production cost per weaner kilogram by 5 Rand. So if I can put that in a better way, it costs him 5 Rand a kilo less per kilogram calf weaned than it would have cost him under conventional systems. And what that basically means is it costs him, give or take, 1,000 Rand per calf less to produce a calf, a weaner calf, than it would have otherwise. Now, guys, 1,000 Rand is huge. That's a lot of money, especially in this year when the weaner prices were fairly poor. And going by the droughts and the farms that aren't able to plant maize or get their maize in, my expectation is that we're probably going to see a similar wiener price next year. Unfortunately, the wiener price might come down, but the costs don't stand still. They still continue going up. So this is most certainly a model that works. And this is how I see the future myself personally. And this is my opinion. But this is how I see the future for commercial farmers going forward. What else did he tell me that was interesting? Well, yes, camps rest for about 12 plus months. In fact, he showed me camps that were resting 15 months already. Um, they seeing better quality climate grasses starting to come through in the camps now. They're seeing some nitrogen fixing plants coming through in the camps. These are things they never saw in the past. They're starting to see dung beetles coming through. There's a lot more insect life. There's a lot more soil life. There's a lot more soil health. Guys, understand this is not something that you can change overnight. It's a process. And I would think it would take you 5 to 10 years to really see a major difference. In countries and areas where there's a high rainfall, the response might be quicker. But this is 30 kilometers south of, oh goodness, where were we now? Now I can't remember. De Wetstorp. Sorry about that. 30 kilometers south of De Wetstorp. I'm so focused on the cows, I lost my track of thought. 30 km south of De Wetstorp, South Free State. Not a high rainfall area. You can see by the color of the grass. It doesn't look wonderful. So it takes a bit longer to affect the changes and to see the changes that you want. But the best way to start on a long journey is with the first step. So he's taken this decision. He's got animals you'll find nowhere else. He's got animals that should do well on any farm, whether it be a commercial farm, whether it be someone who wants to go over to holistic farming management principles. So his cows or his animals are suitable for many, many people out there. In fact, given what it's taken for him to get here, I said to him, I would think that he should get a premium on his animals because he's done the legwork. He's taken the knocks, he's taken the production losses. So for you and me out there who want to start farming with these kinds of animals or changing our herds over, he's done all the hard work. All you need to do is buy a bull from him, put them on your cows, start increasing your grazing density and your grazing pressure. He's done all the work. These animals are perfect. Anyway, so guys, tell me what you think. Um, just look at that bull. Just look at that bull. Man, he's fat. Isn't he beautiful? Look at those calves. These animals are thriving. Anyway, once again, I'm getting sidetracked. Tell me what you think. Tell me what your opinions are. I think this is a magnificent herd. I think Gerrit has shown foresight. I think he's shown guts. It takes guts to make such big decisions, especially when you're the only one within your breed willing to do so. But he's produced a unique product that no one else can offer. If this is what you're looking for, if this is your conviction, if you're considering going this way, heck, even if you just want good, tough, hardy animals, these animals will pop anywhere. Unless your grazing conditions are way worse, and I'm talking about climate and grass types, unless you're really in a tougher part of the country, these animals should pop on your farm. And I can't see that anyone would make a mistake buying from this guy. And guys, he's not in no way supporting me financially. This is just my honest and personal convictions. Anyway, guys, I think that's enough for now. I hope you guys have a good Christmas. I pray that we all get rain. It's dire straits, especially those areas that haven't had decent rain in the last 2 years. Guys, our prayers are with you. May we all be blessed. Be safe this Christmas. Be safe on the roads. I don't know how much content I'll get out there going forward. And guys, from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for your support. And I really, really appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Have a good one. We're going to chat again. Cheers.